This is Hardest Reality, August 16th, 2025. The channel concerned with cultural and geopolitical events affecting the human condition, specifically the human condition of the average American. Last time we spoke, I made a prediction about the Putin-Trump meeting not happening, but it did happen. Apparently, some discussion was made with respect to having a second meeting in Moscow, which I take as a positive sign. With respect to Ukraine, that's still continuing. So when this channel talks about Hardest Reality, let's talk about this Ukraine thing. Now, since 2022, we've been hearing nothing about this military operation against Ukraine. But what has it done for the American, the average American person? Tell me, we've been bombarded for the last, 2.5 years with this Ukraine must be saved. We must give everything we have in our arsenal to Ukraine. We must give Ukraine money to survive. Hardest reality. We have homeless children, homeless veterans, homeless Americans, handicapped and hungry, living on the street. Yet, we're told we have to provide money for the Ukrainian government to function. Their people get health care. They get whatever provisions that corrupt government allows them to have. Basically, they keep the money we give them. But the hardest reality is this. We have needs. American people, the average American has needs. And yet, we're compelled, our government is compelled to give our tax money to support the government of Ukraine. And what reason do we have for doing that? Tell me, as an average American, what has it gotten you? The propaganda in the media? Do you believe it? This is the hardest reality I'm talking about. A hardest reality is that we have a government always, no matter who we vote for the last 25 years. Since this century started, we just have a continuity of government. Whoever runs for president, whoever runs for office, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do that for you. And meanwhile, all we get for the last 25 years is the following. Tax cuts for the wealthy, tax cuts for corporations, expanding the military budget, and blank checks to Israel. For the last 25 years, that's what our policy as an American government has been. And that is a hardest reality to swallow. But that's how it is. And in the last 25 years, because of that foreign policy and the economic policy that goes hand in hand with it, we have nothing but homeless people in this country. Working people that have to work several jobs to barely make ends meet, and they still don't make ends meet. The minimum wage is what? Less than $20 an hour? And please tell me, when you go to the supermarket, how much does a gallon of milk, a dozen eggs, and a loaf of bread cost you? At least $20. And the minimum wage is below $20. Do you tell me we have a government that cares for the best interests of the average American? No. All we do here is make the wealthy wealthier by taking whatever assets the average American has and they transfer it to them. Just like this big, beautiful bill has just done. He lowered taxes again for the corporations, for the wealthy. All right, and where did that money come from? They say, oh, it came from welfare, SNAP, this and that. Yeah, well, it also came from average Americans. And you know, some of those people on SNAP were formerly middle-class people who now, because of the economic policy of the United States, have become needy and have needed welfare and SNAP programs. So, of course, now what we'll do is we'll take away whatever bits they had and we'll just increase the homeless. This is hardest reality, that all of the money that we spend in foreign policy has been to the detriment of the average American who works, saves, and then what happens when he needs the money? Oh, well, you know something, you got to pay for this. Your health care just has increased. You just submitted an insurance claim. Well, the first thing we have to do is look for a way not to pay you. Yeah, despite the fact that for all your life you've been paying the premiums on time, now that you present us with a claim, well, the first thing we'll look at to make sure is we don't have to pay you. Or we'll pay you as little as we can. And it'll all be legal. And you'll have people like Senator Graham from North Carolina saying, Israel, everything Israel and nothing for America. Nothing. I don't know how this guy stays in office. I don't know. But it's not just him. The whole Senate was very few, perhaps Rand Paul, and then the Congress, the only two that I consider are not bought by Israel are Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But the rest of them, they're all forget it. Anyhow, this is hardest reality. For average Americans, I say this stuff to you because I want you to understand what you're living through. Well, and again, we'll see what happens now. People, take some interest in what's happening in the world around you because it does affect you. Try to do some homework, do some research. How come every time, man, I got to go to the store now, it's more money that I got to pay? Why is it that I got to keep working harder to just make ends meet? Because I'll tell you why. You have an economic policy that keeps telling us we got to have a weaker dollar. Well, the weaker the dollar gets, the more expensive things become for the average American. But for the wealthy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they have unlimited dollars. And you know why? They have a pipeline to the government economic policy. They own the government. Last case, I'll give you an example. What happened in 2008 financial crisis? So many people lost homes. Lost their jobs, lost their livelihoods. And who caused it? The banks caused it. That's right, the Wall Street banks and the international globalist banks. And what happened? Instead of them being held responsible and being allowed to go under, that's supposed to happen in capitalism, where these failed institutions caused this financial problem, instead of going out of business and holding people to account for what they did, no, they get bailed out by the average American's tax money. Okay? We bailed out the banks that caused the economic crisis in 2008 that's still continuing to this day in 2025. And we continue to bail them out. This is a hardest reality. Stay vigilant. Stay faithful. Stay loyal. Hardest reality, August 16, 2025.